the reason I think everyone loves our show is because we deal with common day problems that everybody else deals with. And so, they get to watch the way that we encounter these problems and what we do.
Josh Harris was once the golden boy of Deadliest Catch. Son of legendary Captain Phil Harris, he seemed destined for greatness. For years, he captained the Cornelia Marie and won millions of fans. Then, in September 2022, everything changed. Discovery fired him instantly. Within 48 hours, his profile vanished from their platforms. They edited him out of over 10 episodes. His net worth dropped from $4 million to under $1 million. What happened behind the scenes that made Discovery erase him completely? The truth involves secrets that go back decades. Josh Harris was born on March 7, 1980, in Seattle. And from the very start, his world felt heavy. His family lived close to the rough edge of commercial fishing. His father, Phil Harris, spent months at a time battling the Bering Sea, while Josh stayed home with his mother. When he was just 5, he watched his parents argue again and again, the fights sparked by long trips, unpaid bills, and the feeling that the sea always came first. Those moments pushed him to grow up fast. He learned to take care of himself. He learned to stay quiet during tense nights. And even though he saw more trouble than comfort, he still admired his father's wild stories from the ocean. That mix of fear and fascination shaped him early and stayed with him for years. By 8 years old in 1988, things got worse. Phil had gambling debts piling up, and the family had to leave their home and squeeze into a cramped apartment near the shipyards. The new place smelled of salt, metal, and diesel, and Josh felt the pressure of a life that could change overnight. While other kids went to school without a second thought, he sometimes slipped out to the docks. He copied crab pot moves with simple ropes and tools he found lying around. Those rough mornings by the water lit something inside him. School didn't mean much to him, but pulling lines and watching tides made sense. It felt like the sea was pulling him in even before he understood why. As he reached 12, he started taking on odd jobs to make a little money. He gutted salmon on the docks, hands freezing, clothes soaked with rain, and wind cutting across his face. It was brutal work for a child, but it taught him that nothing came easy. These long shifts made him stronger. They also gave him a steady look at the dangers and rewards of fishing life. Each day on those docks felt like another test, and he passed them one by one, learning how to push through discomfort and keep going. Then came 1993. Josh was only 13 when he climbed aboard the Aleutian Ballad, a 105-foot crabber, to start his first season under Captain Phil. This was not a simple introduction. It felt more like a trial meant for grown men. Some shifts stretched to 18 hours. Lines were heavy enough to cut through skin. Josh worked until his hands bled, and Phil never gave him special treatment. He demanded focus. He demanded strength. And by the end of that trip, Josh had earned respect from the crew. He came home exhausted, aching, but also proud. That first voyage created a quiet bond between him and the ocean. A bond built on pain, endurance, and the rush that came from surviving it. 2 years later, in the summer of 1995, the ocean tested him again. Josh was 15, working on deck, when a rogue wave slammed into the Aleutian Ballad off the Washington coast. It hit so hard that ropes snapped like twigs. The crew scrambled as the boat tilted dangerously. Josh was thrown into a railing, leaving a deep scar on his forearm that stayed with him for life. The crew somehow managed to steady the boat, but no report was ever filed. It remained one of those hidden close calls that only the men on board remembered. That day tightened Josh's respect for the ocean's violence and taught him how quickly calm water could turn deadly. By 16, in 1996, he made a choice many adults would fear. He dropped out of high school to commit fully to fishing. He joined smaller boats in the Bering Sea and absorbed every skill he could. Knot tying, emergency drills, deck procedures under pressure. During one storm that season, 2 nearby ships sank, a reminder that every trip could be the last. Still, he kept showing up, and soon he built a reputation for being fast and reliable during chaos. He was becoming more than a teen worker. He was becoming someone other fishermen trusted when things got rough. In 1997, at 17, he entered the brutal Opilio crab run. Temperatures dropped below zero. Pots weighed hundreds of pounds. He hauled around 200 of them over the course of the season. His muscles burned every day. But at the end of that run, he earned his first $10,000 paycheck. For a kid still figuring out life, that money felt unreal. What mattered even more was his position next to Phil. He was now his father's right hand on the deck, proving himself through grit rather than words. That same year, he tried something unexpected. During a short break, he joined a local skateboarding competition in Seattle and placed third. He enjoyed the quick rush of wheels on pavement, but soon he felt the sea calling again. Skateboarding gave him a spark, but fishing gave him a purpose. Within weeks, he was back on the water. By 1998, at just 18, his responsibilities grew. He co-captained a minor vessel during the red crab season. Ice floes clogged engines. Delays threatened the crew. Nights stretched into freezing marathons of problem-solving. Through all that, Josh stayed calm. His steady leadership helped the crew push through, and a fishing trade newsletter even mentioned him. It was his first taste of public recognition in the industry. Older fishermen took notice and said it was rare to see someone that young handle such pressure with that much control. Then came the late 1990s. Phil fell ill from a severe smoking-related condition, and Josh had to step up again. At 19, during the 2000 King Crab Derby, he led major parts of the operation on the Cornelia Marie. He introduced a new bait strategy using more local fish and fresher pieces. The change boosted their catch by almost 20%. Word spread around the fleet. Crew members got more rest thanks to the rotation system he managed. His ideas and discipline made the boat faster and more efficient. For the first time, he was not just filling in for Phil, he was leading in his own way. In 2001, at 21, he took full command of a day charter off the Alaskan coast. A sudden squall hit, and the boat rocked wildly as waves crashed over the deck. The crew panicked, but Josh kept steady hands on the controls. When they made it through, a celebrity guest on board praised him publicly, calling it both terrifying and impressive. Discovery Channel heard about the incident, and that story brought scouts closer. Without knowing it, Josh had taken a real step toward the show that would change his life. At 22, in 2002, he took a gamble. He used his own savings to upgrade the Cornelia Marie's radar. It was expensive and untested, and some crew members thought it was unnecessary. But Josh insisted after a close call in heavy fog. A few months later, during another fog-filled derby, the new radar spotted an incoming vessel that no one could see. His quick response prevented a collision and likely saved lives. Phil publicly praised him at a banquet, calling it the smartest move they had made in years. The upgrade raised safety standards for the whole fleet and boosted Josh's standing among seasoned fishermen. In 2003, he explored a different side of himself. He stepped away from the water for 3 months to record some demo songs in Seattle. 6 tracks came out of that session. A few even made it onto local radio, though the response was mild. People said the music was interesting but not quite commercial. Josh felt discouraged and realized that while he could try many things, the sea still held the biggest piece of him. So he returned to fishing, this time with a clearer mind and a stronger sense of who he was. Josh Harris first stepped onto Deadliest Catch in 2005, when he was 25. And the moment he appeared on screen, it felt like the Bering Sea had chosen a new storyteller. He worked as a deckhand on the Cornelia Marie, and one early scene burned his face into the minds of fans. He stood on deck, while a 35-foot swell rose like a living wall in front of him. The camera caught his raw shock, his nervous laughter, and the way he braced himself. Nothing about that moment was planned. It aired in June 2005 during the show's first huge wave of popularity. More than 2 million people watched each episode that season, and viewers felt like they were seeing a real kid pushed into a world that did not care how scared he was. That small piece of video helped build his early fan base. It pulled him into the center of the story without him even trying. The next year brought something heavier. In 2006, the Cornelia Marie crew cracked under exhaustion and the pressure of non-stop crab fishing. There was talk of a mutiny. Voices rose, tempers broke. Josh was only 26, but he stepped into the middle of the storm. Instead of yelling, he talked about his father Phil and the times he had watched him collapse under stress. That story calmed the deck. The editors leaned into that moment when the episode aired later that year. More than 2.3 million people tuned in, and many said it made the Harris name feel human rather than heroic. That moment stayed with fans because it showed Josh's heart more than his strength. By 2008, he was 28 and finding his own rhythm. Season 4 aired in May that year, and something wild happened. Josh pulled in a record 200 pounds of Apilio crab in a single pot. Discovery Channel showed the footage again and again in promos. It was loud. It was chaotic. It was the kind of thing people replayed online for years. Viewership hit almost 2.7 million for that episode on May 19, 2008. Josh said later that this was the moment he felt his confidence switch on. Fans started calling him the next generation captain long before he earned the title. Then came 2009. Josh and Jake Anderson shared a bond that felt like two sons of the same sea. They talked openly about leaving their families for almost 90 days at a time. Their conversations aired in July 2009, and more than 2.5 million people watched. They talked about Phil, who was still alive then, and how he shaped them. Their honesty surprised everyone because reality TV rarely showed men talking about fear and balance. That episode became a favorite, and Discovery Channel even turned their story into a special segment later on. Everything changed in 2010. Before Phil's death, Josh secured his first real payday from the show, $50,000 for a season. He used it to buy a home in Seattle. It felt like a step into adulthood and a way to anchor himself. The show was pulling over 3 million viewers per episode at that time, so his rise happened in front of a massive audience. Interviews often mentioned how this new income gave him a foothold in a life that once felt unstable. Then came the darkest moment. On January 29, 2010, Phil Harris suffered a massive stroke at St. Paul Island. The crew found him on the floor of his room, unable to speak or move. He was airlifted to Anchorage and placed in a medically induced coma for 2 days. There were small signs of improvement, but on February 9, 2010, he died at age 53 because of an intracranial hemorrhage that suddenly worsened. Season 6 showed it all. Episode 10 captured the stroke. Episode 14, called Redemption Day, showed the grief. Fans were stunned. The Harris name suddenly shifted from a story of strength to a story of loss. Josh was only 30 when he became co-owner of the Cornelia Marie. In 2011, a storm nearly destroyed the boat. Repairs cost more than $200,000, and the vessel was close to being auctioned. Josh pulled investors together, sold slices of ownership, and kept the boat alive. Season 7 showed him facing the aftermath. It was the first time fans saw him make decisions with real risk behind them. That same season, something terrifying happened. A mechanical failure hit the Cornelia Marie in the middle of the Bering Sea. 40-knot winds, no movement. 48 hours stuck in danger. The crew was scared, and Josh had to ration food and fuel while waiting for help. The cameras caught every breath of fear. It became one of the moments people still bring up when they talk about the unpredictability of deep-sea life. In 2012, he honored his father by naming their largest quota Phil's Legacy Haul. That season, the crew brought in enough crab to earn $1.2 million. The money cleared the boat's debts and helped fund a fishing scholarship in Phil's name at a school in Washington. Fans loved that. It turned grief into something that could help someone else begin a life on the water. By 2013, the weight of everything started to crack Josh from the inside. He drank heavily. The stress, the pressure, the loss. He entered rehab and came back stronger for Season 10 in 2014. That honesty mattered. It made viewers feel like they were not just watching a captain, but a person trying to fix himself. That same year, he did something bold. At 34, he introduced drone scouting during crab season. The drones cut search time by almost 40% and boosted catch yields by about 15%. The industry took notice. A maritime association gave him an innovation award by the end of 2014. It was the first time a vessel on the show used drones this way. Some experts said it changed the future of crabbing. Then came 2016, the ice season everyone remembers. A greenhorn fell overboard into the freezing Bering Sea during the night. Josh led the rescue and pulled him back. They wrapped him in heated blankets and kept him alive until the Coast Guard arrived. Season 12 aired that moment, and ratings jumped by 20%. Safety officials even praised the crew for handling hypothermia the right way. It pushed other boats to update their emergency routines. 2 years later, in 2018, he focused on eco-friendly bait sourcing with Discovery's Green Initiative. He cut the boat's waste by 30%, using sustainable bait and better recycling practices. Sponsors noticed. Environmental groups noticed. It shifted how people looked at commercial crabbing. In 2019, he stepped into a tense quota battle during the King Crab Derby. He pushed through hard negotiations and secured an extra 50,000 pounds of quota. It was unusual for a year with strict limits. That extra quota meant major money for his crew and more weight in the show's storyline. By 2020, he was invited to speak at a major maritime conference in Seattle. He talked about safety and innovation, drawing from more than 150 episodes of the show. Behind the scenes, rival captains tried to steal his top deckhands with big offers. He kept them by raising pay and improving conditions. That moment revealed how competitive the industry becomes when a captain starts rising too fast. But his past did not disappear. In July 1998, when he was 18, something happened at a family gathering in Kodiak. He was accused of sexually assaulting a 4-year-old neighbor's daughter. The family did not report it right away. Months later, forensic tests were done. DNA found on the child's clothing matched Josh. He was arrested in 1999, and the case shocked the fishing community. His father was already well known among fishermen, and the news spread quietly but quickly. Josh went to trial in 1999 at age 19. He pleaded guilty to lesser charges of assault in the 4th degree and immoral communication with a minor. The judge sentenced him to 9 months of house arrest under Phil's supervision, along with weekly therapy sessions. He had to avoid all contact with minors and report regularly to the authorities. He violated the rules more than once. People in Kodiak argued that the sentence was too light for a crime involving a child, but he avoided prison. In 2000, the victim's family filed a civil case. They asked for restitution to cover counseling and trauma care. The court ordered Josh to pay $15,000 through a family trust. The payment was kept quiet. Many locals said Phil watched Josh closely after that, trying to keep him in line. The secrecy protected the family name at the time, but the victim's family later said they felt ignored and unsupported. When old documents resurfaced in 2022, the story returned to public conversation and reshaped how many people saw Josh's rise on television. Josh Harris pushed into trouble long before most viewers ever knew his name. And by the time things surfaced on television, everything was already tangled underneath. In mid-2015, during season 11, producers wanted him to film a staged fight scene with his crew. It sounded simple, but not to him. It felt too close to the real chaos he had lived through in 1998 when he was accused of assaulting a minor. The request hit him in a place he did not want reopened. He refused. That refusal turned the set uncomfortable fast. Discovery insiders later said producers edited whole stretches of the season just to hide how intense the disagreement had been. They shaped it to look like normal show drama instead of a real standoff. Josh walked away from that season feeling like his past had been turned into a cheap moment, and that strain sat between him and production for years. Court records show he pleaded guilty back in 1998 to lesser charges of assault and immoral communication with a minor. He served 9 months and went through a psychosexual evaluation before release. That part of his life never stopped following him, even when the cameras pretended everything was fine. Things got harder again in 2017. Out of nowhere, his boat insurance jumped by 25%. Underwriters had dug into his background and found the same 1998 conviction he had never disclosed. To them, it meant high risk. To him, it meant another wall rising in front of him while the crab business was already slipping. He had to co-sign loans with partners just to keep the Cornelia Marie afloat. Regulators were fining them. Crab prices were dropping. The boat needed upgrades he could no longer afford. Every new cost pulled him down a little more and showed up later when his vessel started falling behind the newer competition. By 2019, things boiled over with Jake Anderson. Their history had always been messy, but that year it exploded. A dockside argument turned physical. Witnesses said there was shouting, shoving, threats, all tied to disagreements about boat shares and deeper family secrets connected to the old 1998 case. Someone captured a bit of it on a phone, and the clip spread in fishing forums. Jake did not comment. Fans filled in the silence with theories. Some believed the fight was really about what the Harris and Anderson families had kept quiet for years. The tension hung between them long after the moment ended. Then came season 16 in 2020, and Josh finally admitted on camera that he had been hiding therapy relapses. He said the pressure of carrying his father's legacy, the weight of his own mistakes, and the trauma from 1998 kept breaking him down. He spoke about falling asleep without warning, waking up without warning, feeling fear in the hours he was supposed to be strong. In December 2020, he wrote that trauma made him drift in and out of sleep and that he was trying to navigate carefully. Producers said his honesty made him more human, but it also exposed the wounds he had been outrunning. Those struggles followed him into 2022, when the resurfaced allegations became too heavy for Discovery to ignore. In 2021, anonymous posts and leaked documents about his 1998 case started spreading again. Forums picked them apart. Tabloids added fuel. People demanded answers. Josh reacted by posting smiling family photos and positive messages as a shield. But it did not stop anything. OK Magazine and others confirmed the old conviction through public records, and after that, Discovery made its move. He insisted he was innocent, but court papers reminded everyone he had pleaded guilty and served 9 months. The online conversation turned sharp and stayed sharp. On September 7, 2022, Discovery fired him. They did not stall. They acted within 48 hours of a viral article. They released a short statement saying they had become aware of the issue and that he would not appear in future episodes. They quickly removed his profile, his bio, his name from every part of their platforms. Fans were shocked. He had appeared in almost 200 episodes and had become one of the faces of the show. Some people said it was overdue. Others said Discovery was trying to look clean during a loud moment. Still, his past was now everywhere again. Season 19 arrived with even more changes. Discovery removed him from more than 10 episodes. They erased shots, cut lines, and even dubbed some scenes with other voices. Fans noticed the awkward edits right away. Viewership for the premiere dropped by 15%. The Cornelia Marie was removed too after Season 18. It felt like Discovery wanted to wipe the Harris name out completely. Long-time viewers felt betrayed. Many wondered if the show could still feel real without the people who had shaped it for years. In 2023, after being cut from the industry he knew best, Josh tried to return on his own. He launched a rogue captaincy on an unregistered vessel, hoping to rebuild outside the system. But the Coast Guard found out quickly. They shut it down with $50,000 in fines. His contract with Discovery allowed retroactive termination for past convictions, so when he tried to appeal on privacy grounds, courts rejected him. The rules were clear. His conviction was public record. Discovery was within its rights. With that ruling, he ran out of places to go. By late 2023, everything caught up with him financially. His net worth, once around $4 million, dropped below $1 million. He had legal fees, fines, and all the fallout weighing on him. He sold his Seattle home. Advocacy groups pushed boycotts. Income streams dried up one by one. The isolation grew. His career was gone. His reputation was shredded. His world kept shrinking until he faded into the background. Still, he tried again. In 2024, he started a quiet podcast called Salt and Ethics. It focused on fishing morals and sustainable practices. Surprisingly, it gained about 10,000 downloads in its first month. But soon, the calm cracked. 2 guest hosts walked off after learning about his 1999 arrest for attempting to take a minor across state lines. Records from 2002 showed Discovery had quietly cut ties with him back then, but later reinstated him, which stirred anger among advocacy groups. The podcast avoided any real apology or direct talk about the incident, and listeners noticed. To many, it felt like image repair without accountability. In early 2025, he took a bigger swing. He filed a lawsuit against Discovery for $2 million. He claimed the network treated him unfairly because other captains with DUI cases were reinstated while he was barred from returning after his 1999 arrest. The suit mentioned examples from 2020 and 2021 involving Wild Bill Wichrowski and Sig Hansen. Josh argued the 2022 contract renegotiation cost him millions in earnings and sponsorships. The case is still open. Insiders say Discovery has faced criticism before, especially in 2017 when fans pushed back about how they handled controversial crew members. If internal memos become public, the fallout could be huge for both sides. Through all of this, he tried to reconnect with his children. In 2024, he began therapy focused on fatherhood. The sessions included his kids with guidance from a family counselor. A private letter leaked in a Facebook group revealed how he talked about his father, Phil Harris, and how those Bering Sea lessons shaped him. One of his daughters described a moment where he shared stories from his childhood and what it meant to grow up as a captain's son. The letter explained that rebuilding trust was slow. It also touched on the emotional weight of Phil's death in 2010 and how it kept shaping Josh's choices. By November 2025, Josh Harris was working as the captain of a small charter operation off Washington. He stayed away from Alaska because of his legal issues. His charters drew local anglers and a steady mix of curiosity and controversy. Then whispers began. People in the fishing community said he was close to signing a memoir deal. If true, the book could reveal everything behind the scenes, from the 1999 incident to the lawsuit in 2025. Insiders said the advance might reach six figures with a release planned for late 2026 if legal clearances go through. Some fans are excited to hear his side. Discovery executives, on the other hand, are watching quietly, hoping the past does not rise again in the pages of that book.